Thrawn is the best Star Wars villains, and you can't tell me otherwise. He perfectly embodies what a villain should be. He is smart and can even be manipulative at times if necessary. He's always 3 steps ahead of anyone, and he's a complicated character, and not just a pure evil psychopath like Tarkin. Some might say that all great Star Wars villains are Force users, but in my opinion, what makes Thrawn great is that he does not have the Force, and he has to use his mind to overcome obstacles. Someone like Vader feels undefeatable, and Thrawn also feels like this, but not because he's physically powerful, but because he's the smartest one in the room all the time. Even though Thrawn's not a Force user, he's still a capable fighter and knows many martial arts, and is an expert with the Star Wars version of Eskrima sticks, which is the same weapons that Nightwing uses in the DC comics and movies, shows, all that stuff. I'm sure Thrawn could hold his own and maybe even beat multiple Mandalorians in hand-to-hand combat. And another thing that sets Thrawn apart is he has a very accurate view of the world and like a worth ethic we could really benefit to learn from. In some ways, Thrawn is the biggest stereotypical Alpha Sigma in Star Wars. So yeah, very Gen Alpha terms there. I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. As I mentioned, Thrawn is a tactical genius and has almost never been beaten in space combat, and that's what makes him such a great villain, because the rebels have limited ships, and Thrawn's like this undefeatable enemy who kind of can predict everything. Every time Thrawn has ever lost a battle, it's only been to stuff out of his control. And he has also done some crazy stuff, like he single-handedly found the rebel base. But I do have one problem with Thrawn, and that's his writing. A good writer can make a masterpiece with Thrawn, but a mediocre, even bad writer will often mess up the character, making him seem too evil or like they're not that smart. We see this a bit in Rebels, but it's barely noticeable. But the cracks really show in Ahsoka Season 1, where he's just kind of there. Thrawn is amazing in so many ways, but one way he shines is his ability to ally with the right people. Some examples of that are the Emperor, Eli Vanto, Commodore Pharaoh, Morgan Elsbeth, Pelion, and just so many more. I love when villains feel smart, and Thrawn is a perfect mix of that, and still, on his own, he could pose a threat. Too often, villains are the most powerful, and it feels like, why do the villains even have henchmen in the first place? They could deal with any threat themselves. And sometimes also the villains are really dumb, and it's just a big brute. So before I continue, if you like the video so far, consider subscribing, as it helps me out a ton, and I'll know what content people like to see on this channel. Now back to the video. As I mentioned, Thrawn is a very complicated character, because unlike people like Vader and the Emperor Tarkin, who are showed as almost always purely evil, Thrawn has noble motives. He wants to protect his people, the Chiss, and provide security to the galaxy. He understands the wrongs of the Empire, but views them as a necessity to have peace, and in many ways he's correct. We've seen how the Republic's leadership was corrupt, and how the New Republic failed to maintain their government because of their leadership and just not even knowing how to run a government properly. And we've even seen how the Empire make mistakes. Thrawn has been shown to care about the men and women under his command, and even though Thrawn's a noble person with morality and morals and a code, he will still sacrifice lives to protect the wider group. And this makes him the perfect embodiment of saving one life to save 100. And it kind of reminds me of the absurd trolley problems game that I'm sure some of you have played. I know this video has been kind of ranty, but I hope I've proven to you why everybody loves Thrawn and why he's an amazing villain. I still have more to say about Thrawn and why he's a perfect bad guy antagonist. So if you enjoyed the video and want a part 2, subscribe, like, plus comment maybe down below. And then, yeah, with that, have a good day and peace out.